everything just felt overwhelming all the time. I just could never process anything. My emotions were always through the roof. My nervous system was always like basically in fight or flight mode, it felt like. And then using cannabis, it basically allows me to calm my entire system down.
Hello, and welcome to the Clear Pod. I am so excited today because I get to talk with McCarter, or Emily McCarter, or McCarter Gets High, depending on where you're looking for her. So, this is a really nice treat. And we just put together that we had met back in the day. I guess we can say that at this point. We both been in the industry long
I
enough.
think it was like 6 years ago.
Oh my gosh, where does the time go?
2018. It's the end of 2020. Oh my gosh, 2024. What am I saying? So yes, 6 years, I think,
That's
if my math is correct.
Yeah, no, before now is usually how I like to time frame things. Like it didn't happen now, is before now. So,
Yes.
well, I'm really glad we got to reconnect.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here, chat about all things cannabis.
All things cannabis. Yeah. And that's kind of where I want to dive in. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about like your journey to cannabis? How did you get here?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have been consuming cannabis since a very young age, probably, I think 14 is the age, which now thinking about it, that is so young. And if I see a 14-year-old now, I'm like, please don't do that. Don't be me.
Yeah.
But I learned later that I was, self-medicating for my mental health issues. So I do have anxiety, depression, and I was recently diagnosed with ADHD. So we got the trifecta.
Yeah.
It's super fun, but I definitely use cannabis a lot to medicate, and I know that now, but I didn't know at the time. And I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, so that's where I was consuming. Like going into high school, I would say I wasn't really attracted to alcohol when a lot of my friends were starting to drink, go to the high school parties.
Yeah.
So I just was immediately like, I knew there was something else out there. My sisters had talked about it. I have two older sisters. So I had I was always drawn to it. I felt like we were like it was like pulling me in and it was meant to be. So then I just continued to consume more and more and more and really figured out alcohol wasn't for me and cannabis is my love, my vice, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, I've just been really continuing on my journey. I did get 2 possession charges in Indiana in college.
Wow.
So once I told my parents, who are both lawyers, they're like, "You're an idiot. Just go where it's legal." So I promptly moved here to Colorado right after I graduated college. So that was 2017.
Wow.
And then I've been involved in cannabis ever since and just making my way, trying to see what works. Like I worked for Grasslands, that's where we met, and I did some writing for Westward. And then I started a little agency with a friend of mine and just started doing cannabis content on social media, and it's just grown from there.
That's excellent. I want to dig into your agency, but first, I want to go back because I think it's an important distinction. You were consuming when you were a teenager, which don't do it, kids. Wait till your brain is fully developed.
I know.
24 or older, but it's
Yes.
okay. But the reason is because it wasn't necessarily a vice. And it wasn't like you said, going to parties to drink alcohol. It really was helping you. It's a supplement
Yes.
for you. It's something that it helps everything operate better. Can you tell us a little bit about like what the anxiety, depression, and that kind of thing is like before cannabis and then what cannabis does to help it?
Yes. So, well, before cannabis, everything just felt overwhelming all the time. I just could never process anything. My emotions were always like through the roof. My nervous system was always like basically in fight or flight mode, it felt like. And then using cannabis, it basically allows me to calm my entire system down. And so I think that also goes back to, cannabis promoting every cell back to homeostasis and just so many things that are like scientifically proven about the plant that we know now. But it just makes so much sense for me at least. But then I know that people tell me all the time, well, cannabis is anxiety inducing and THC is anxiety inducing. And like, yes, but it depends on the person and it depends on the amount.
Right.
So it's all about finding the sweet spot for like your body and what works best for you and what you need it for.
Right.
So it definitely was a journey and like I'm not going to say it like wasn't a struggle because it was trying to find the right ways to make it work for me. It wasn't like, oh, I immediately, it's like working. Like I had to try to figure out like, how often do I need to be consuming? What ways do I need to be consuming? There's so many different things that go into it, like dosage, schedule, the type, strain, all this stuff that we now are like trying to educate people on. So it's just so funny looking back that I wasn't even concerned about the strain all throughout high school and college. I was just like, whatever, give me anything.
Right.
Like whatever you have, just give it to me because it was still, illegal.
Well, and even like you were talking about trying to find like the proper dosage,
Hmm.
even though there was like some trial and error there, it was still better than
Yes.
the alternative. Like you knew, like, okay, maybe this isn't exactly it, but this still feels better at the wrong dosage or
Oh,
whatever
yes.
versus just, you know,
Oh, yeah, and to, like, give context, like, this may be, I guess, like, trigger warning for suicide, but, yeah, a lot of the times in college, like well, I was editor-in-chief of my college newspaper, and it was really stressful, and this, like, woman who was kind of supposed to be like the mentor was like a bully to me. And basically, I had a lot of suicidal thoughts during that time. And I'm really obviously happy that I never acted upon anything. And I always turned to cannabis to get me out of that. And it was like a light switch. Literally, like I would be like so terrible, like crying, everything, getting home from the newspaper room. I would immediately go to my car to smoke weed because I lived in the sorority house, so you couldn't like light up. So I would go to my car and smoke, and I would come back in, and like my roommates would be like, "Oh my god, it's like you're a totally different person."
wow.
That's crazy. And I'm like, yeah, now you see why I use this.
Yeah.
Like, and so I feel like they saw firsthand and realized like, wow, okay, this looks like a medicine. This looks like this could be helping people.
Right.
Cause that's how I was using it. Like I wasn't using it to like party or socialize. Like I said, I was like using it to instantly take away suicidal thoughts and anxiety. And to make myself like happy again and to like be joyful about living life again.
Well, and it's also different from, say, like a drug like heroin or something where somebody could say, I was a totally different person after I did heroin.
Right.
Right. But like, it's like not functioning.
Not in
You're
a
not,
good way.
this really helped you to be able to refocus and feel better and
Yes.
get in a better place. And I've heard and read there is research out there, and I feel like it's probably coming from prohibitionists,
Mhm.
but it does talk about like, oh, but cannabis causes suicidal ideation. It causes
Mm.
depression. Like we're seeing a lot
Oh,
of that research coming out
weird.
now. Yeah. And again, it goes to
Mhm.
show there's so much mixed information
There is.
that unless you find it and you know that it's
Mhm.
really right for you, there's, people out there that would absolutely benefit from it who aren't able to get it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing I would say to that is yes, too much THC is anxiety inducing and is paranoia inducing. Like that is a fact. But like I said, you need to start really, really low and like, start with 1 milligram. That's what I tell like my sisters who are like, I need a sleep gummy or whatever. I'm like, okay, just start really low.
Right.
Really low. It's not like you're either going to not feel anything or you're going to feel something, but you're just going to go to sleep. So it's going to be okay.
Right.
But yeah, just trying to remind people that no one has ever died of cannabis. Like the studies are like, we're doing so much research about how cannabis is anti-cancer, anti like inflammatory, so many other things. And so we just need to like really focus on that research and make people understand that THC is the main thing that is like anxiety or paranoia. I'm not sure about depression, but that is something to consider. But
Right.
looking into the other cannabinoids, that's where the future is.
Right.
It's like CBG and CBC that are anti-anxiety and like will instantly make you happy and instantly make you joyful. And then like CBN that will help so much with sleep.
Right.
Like there's just so much out there I feel like that people don't understand about the plant. And so when they're saying, "Oh, well weed's going to give you depression." It's like, "Okay, well hold on. What are you even saying right now?" Like
Right.
what you're trying to say is that THC could possibly mess with your mindset, which is accurate. But what you need to understand is not all cannabis is high in THC. And not all cannabis is going to do that. It all depends on the ratio. It all depends on the cannabinoids. It all depends on the delivery system, what you ate that day, how much water is in your body. Like, there's just so much that goes into it. And so I just feel like it's all ignorance. And like that's what that propaganda wants to lean into.
Absolutely.
And it wants to lean into people being like, oh, yeah, I don't know anything about cannabis. And so I saw this one thing and it said that. So I'm just going to believe it.
Right.
Like,
Because that's
no.
the narrative. We just did a episode with Leaf 411.
Oh, yes. I'm going to have her on soon.
Great. No, that's wonderful. She's fantastic.
Awesome. I just met her at an event.
And she's great because she's really found a way to close that loophole of the information that's out there.
Yes.
And like, you know,
she's a registered nurse.
Yeah,
right?
talking to medical professionals. It's ask a nurse for cannabis, right?
Yes.
You call people and say,
so cool.
you know, like, hey, I'm taking this medication, or I think I want to take it for anxiety or depression. Where should I start?
Yes.
And that's a huge part. So I was going to ask you that as well. For somebody who's listening and kind of curious, start with 1 milligram. Is what I heard. I always think about it like cutting your hair.
Mm-hmm.
You can always cut more off.
Yes.
Once
but you can't put it back on.
Right. And so you can always take more. And it like the worst thing that happens is like, oh, you didn't feel anything? Great. You know?
Yes.
You don't want to get into a situation where you're like, oh, now it's too much because you can't turn it down.
Yes. So true.
So start with a really small dose.
Yes.
And then any products or consumption formats that you prefer that you would recommend?
Yes, for sure. I tell everyone that's new or dipping their toe back in to start with a sublingual. I think sublinguals are the best delivery system. It's actually been proven that they are. They are used for a lot of more medical delivery systems in Europe. That's like the main delivery system. It's not capsules for, you know, medicine out there. It's sublingual because it goes right into your bloodstream.
Right.
It absorbs like into the capillaries under your tongue, right into your bloodstream. So that is like the safest, the healthiest. It's what I say whenever my dad is like, smoking is so bad for you, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yes, but you don't have to smoke it.
Right.
Like no one's asking you to smoke it. Like, so I do love gummies as well, but there is quite a delay time usually between when you take it and when you feel the effects. And like I just mentioned earlier, it has to do with, you know, your body type, how much food is in your stomach, how much fat and muscle content you have. Like there's so many different things because then it has to go through your liver. So your liver has to break down the entire thing before it can even go into your bloodstream. So that's why it takes so long. So I tell people to start with sublinguals because then they're not even considering like, okay, I don't have to smoke. I don't have to vape and get all those crazy, you know, devices or just people think of smoking as like not good in general. And then I feel like there's so many horror stories about gummies out there. So people are scared about gummies now. And so I really think people should try sublingual. There's some good products out there. SUM is a really good one I like. I know they have them at like the farm in Boulder. They're around. They're at a lot of places in Colorado. But then there's other really great people that are coming out with really low dosage. Like I said, 1 milligram THC or 2 milligrams THC, but that's paired with another cannabinoid. So maybe it also has 2 milligrams CBD or 4 milligrams CBN to help you sleep. Or 2 milligrams CBC, which is going to instantly like uplift you and bring you like joy or release anxiety.
Right, because then you get like a mixed effect. And it's a little bit better having multiple cannabinoids in there. This is a super shameless plug for the Clear just on my end.
Yes, I was going to say, does the Clear have any products that are like, but I love to vape. So like, I love your guys' cartridges, but I know a lot of people are like hesitant about vaping.
They can be, especially if they're getting into it again or for the first time. And it's not something they do. For people who already use vapes, it's super easy.
Right.
But that's why the edibles seem easier to start with because like, oh, okay, I'm used to eating candy. Like this is great. So we have a gift basket for you, which you'll get when we're done. So don't let me forget to give it to you. And it's got all of the products and I'd love for you to try them.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I'll definitely give you guys some social media love as
that'd
well.
Be great. But we do have a new low potency. We have a tablet.
Amazing.
The tablet.
Yes. See, this is what we want.
Yes,
people.
It dissolves quickly and we've actually overcome the whole like liver processing part of it. So it hits much faster and you don't have to worry about like how much food you have in your stomach or all that. So
cool.
We'll have to do a follow-up episode episode after you try
Yes.
it, because we have this, and then be like, okay, but what'd you think? Does it compare to the sublingual? I'd love to know.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I would love that. I love to hear that you guys are developing more amazing cannabis medicine. That's so exciting.
Yeah, it's been fun, and there's so much room for growth in the industry. Getting back to you, so what are you doing now?
Yes. So now I do have my own podcast, High Minded with McCarter. You can listen to it everywhere or watch it on YouTube, full interviews like we're doing. And I'm hopefully going to have someone from the clear, maybe you, Monica, or, someone, whatever works. But mainly I produce a lot of content on Instagram. So you mentioned at the beginning, you can follow me at McCarter Gets High on Instagram, just all spelled out one word. I love creating video reels. I love being funny and making people laugh and being entertained. My favorite saying is like, if I'm not laughing, I'm crying, because of like all the, anxiety, depression, all that jazz. So yeah, I really love to lean into making people like feel good, and using social media as a way to do that. So I do have quite a few sponsors that I produce content for as well. So I intermix that content with my podcast content, with the entertainment content. So yeah, I have stuff that's like gone viral. I have videos with like 8 million views. So yes, it's very exciting. I'm definitely just trying to like ride the wave, I kind of just like fell into the influencer thing. And so I'm kind of just writing it out, like just seeing where it goes, seeing what happens. I love doing my podcast because I do have a journalism background. So
Yeah, I would love to dig into that just personally a little bit.
yes.
Because you mentioned, yeah, journalism, and you were doing writing beforehand, and then
Yes.
obviously working for Grasslands. How did you find podcasting? How did you find? Was it just all?
Yes.
Yeah, tell us all about it.
It was kind of organic. So I was a music editor for 303 magazine. And then just really getting burnt out of traditional media. And I wanted to get into the cannabis space, and they didn't want me to write cannabis. So that's when I really knew I wanted to be in cannabis. And so I basically reached out to Westward and started writing for Tommy Mitchell. I don't know if you know him. He's the
Wow.
cannabis editor and now news editor. Um, and then I met Ricardo Baca and started working for him. And I took over all their social media accounts and started running 5 of their clients' entire social media accounts. I was running like over 25 accounts. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So that's when I really got into social media, and I saw people being influencers, and I was like, well, shit, I can do that.
Yeah.
And so I just started doing it and posting a lot and building it. And it's all about consistency, really. So I just have stuck with it now for like maybe like 5 or 6 years. Like like right when I met you is when I started like building my own page.
From that to 8 million viewers.
Yes.
So
Yes. Well, I have 64,000 followers on Instagram.
take me from the beginning. So you start with 0 followers, as we all do.
Yes.
And then you started your own business. So you launched like new business accounts, 0 followers, and you were just doing outreach and creating content. And tell me about when it started to gain traction, and like the first time you were like, oh man, I hit it. Like, look at this. This has gone viral.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, I
Okay.
want to know about the first time you were banned, or got in trouble, or they turned off your account, or whatever happened. Okay.
Oh, such a saga. Okay, I'll try to keep it like somewhat concise. So I do want to note that I did change my personal Instagram over to my now cannabis facing like influencer account. So I did start with, I had like 1,000 followers, but it was like all my friends and family. So I did start my Instagram account in high school when it first came out, which is crazy. I think it was 2012.
Wow.
I was I think sophomore in high school. No, junior, senior. I don't know. I graduated in 2013. So yeah. I just been using it like, as normal people do, like posting pictures, going out, family, friends, like, oh, I went to Europe. But then when I moved out here and I really wanted to get into the cannabis industry and really realized like, oh my God, cannabis is like my like end all be all, like I will die for this plant. That's when I changed my personal over to be a cannabis facing one. So I just got really high and I was like, okay, I need like a new funny like thing to call myself basically because I saw all these people like Koala Puffs and like Mac Dizzle and like Silenced Hippie. They all had these cute little kind of names that kind of, hinted at what they do or who they are, but it wasn't like super explicit. But I am a very explicit person and I just want to like break all boundaries and like walls down. And I don't know if it's because of my parents being lawyers and them being like structured laws, rules, and then me.
Say what you mean, right?
Yes. And I'm just like, no, 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 no. Like, I want to do what I want. Like, the government's lying to us. Like, so yeah, I've always just since getting into cannabis really at a young age been just fully into that and committed. So yeah, moved out here, fully did it, changed my Instagram handle to McCarter Gets High because I was like, fuck it. I want everyone to know that I get high. Like I don't want it to be a secret, like whatever. And just started posting like kind of cute, sometimes like hot, sexy, but not like thirst trappy, just like
Your
looking
parents were still looking. I mean,
right. My
you're so
family was on it. Yeah. So I was like, I'm not trying to, make an OnlyFans or anything. Like, just trying to, like, you have to be pretty and attractive. It's not a secret, too. Like, really, that's what people enjoy looking at, as well as other stuff. But that is like a true and tried and true.
to stop the scrolling. They have
Right.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting, right? Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I was kind of putting myself more out there, like showing a little bit more skin, but mainly including cannabis, like me smoking, showing nugs. And this was the early days where you could show whatever you wanted on Instagram. It was amazing. Like, I look back and I'm like, wow, we had it good and we didn't even know.
Right.
So, yeah, I was just posting like everything, like me rolling joints, me smoking like on my balcony because I live in Boulder. So like the mountains are in the background, me going on hikes and smoking joints at the top of, you know, the mountain and just like getting so much content. Like whatever I did, I was getting content, but it was mostly photos at that time on Instagram. I do want to note. So that kind of like got me rolling and like I was using some hashtags and that's when I started going to events and really started like networking with people, getting to know more brands, like starting to do just like a lot more like community stuff. And like then people start, once you go to an event and they take pictures of you and then you're tagged in that picture and then everyone's like tagging you in that picture. And so then it's just like a snowball effect kind of. So I just kind of kept riding that snowball, trying to keep going to events, all that stuff. And then I linked up with some other influencers in the area that were doing similar things as I was. So that's when it really got a lot of momentum because we all started teaming up together with this like collaboration. So then whatever we did together, we were all tagging each other. So then I was getting like all of their followers coming over to me.
Yeah.
So which is still really important to do. Like collaboration posts are really important on Instagram today. But so yeah, that's really how I built like my first like I would say like 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 followers. Was a lot of engagement, a lot of community engagement, events, putting out a ton of content, like responding to every DM, responding to every comment. Yeah, like it's
A lot.
lot of work. Yeah. And then like COVID happened and everyone was kind of like, "Oh fuck," because the events stopped for like, at least the foreseeable future, like a year or two or whatever. So that's when the videos started taking off. And at that time I was around 20,000 followers, which is like decent, but not like like incredible or amazing or, anything to like be like, "Oh, I'm going to, run the world with my 20,000 followers." Like so I was like, "Okay, I need to like build this up more if I want to like do this on my own." And at that time, I didn't really want to do the agency style whereas I was like giving people content, like giving them like 30 photos a month or whatever. I was like, I want to do kind of my own thing. I want to continue with my brand and like my personality. And that's when I was like, well, shit, everyone's making a podcast. Maybe I'll just do a podcast. And in college, I had my own radio show too. So I had like a little bit of experience. And so I had a friend from college. He just helped me be the editor. Bought all the equipment, like with some like savings I had. Got these nice Shure microphones, and just started, you just have to do it. Literally, people are like, how did you do it? And it's like, you just start doing it and you keep doing it. So I just started having people on, started scheduling interviews, started just telling people, hey, I have a podcast now, like, got the logos done, Now I'm on my like fourth year doing it. I'm on my third or fourth editor. I now do full video. But it was that point that I really switched over to video because I saw that's when TikTok craze was going crazy. People were bored on their phones, just like constantly on social media, or bored at home on their phones. And so I was like, okay, everyone's doing video content. This is the way to like go viral and like do it. So I started just doing like really like small clips that are, what they do still, and like trending audio sounds with some copy on it, with kind of like a cool or like interesting or provocative background, like anything to make someone stop the scroll. Exactly
Right.
what you said. And my first video that went viral, I still remember, it was me. It's me in a bathtub, and it's like I don't have any clothes on, but I'm covered in like bubbles because I'm in like a bathtub thing. But it's like slightly provocative because like I'm like naked, I
Okay.
guess. And I have like a huge bong. And I just like have a huge rip of it. And the copy says like, when people ask like, what do you do for fun on weekends? And like that was my response of like me in the bathtub with this like huge rip. And I think it got like 2 or 3 million views. And that was my first video reel that went viral. And I got like 5,000 followers from it, like a bunch, like it was crazy. And I was like, okay, this is it.
Game
This,
time.
yeah,
We're doing it. I figured it out.
this is like, I think this is kind of I don't know what's like the secret sauce, or kind of like, the way to do it. Like the way to go viral and keep going viral is like this kind of short content, but like sprinkle in some information, or like sprinkle in something funny, or provocative. So yeah, we're continuing on that trend today, but I apply it to my podcast as well. And yeah, like funny content, because really the funny, engaging, entertaining content is what brings people to my page.
Right.
But then I want to educate them through my podcast, and stuff like that. So I started my own business in 2020 and just have my own LLC and just do everything through there, and do like, marketing consulting, or now I create content for clients or show them how to create these reels, and do that consistently. Um, so yeah, it's so fun. I love it. I just think it's really fun, and you can kind of like be whoever you want, like you can like dress up, or like, you can like show people how a way to perceive you almost.
Well, and it's nice because it's your brand.
Yes.
So you really have a lot of
Yes.
flexibility in terms of like,
So
this is
true.
the brand that I want to be. It's like all this.
Yes.
Which
No one's telling me what to do.
Right. You're creating the brand, and you are the brand. So
Yes. Feels good.
what's your favorite part of creating? Do you prefer long form, short form? Do you prefer the podcast? Do you really like creating content for other people? Where's your kind of sweet spot?
I definitely like creating my own content the most. I really like how creative cannabis makes me. So I love just knowing like, oh, I could just get to get high as fuck right now and like just make a video. Like that's my life. Like how cool is that? I've been manifesting this for like 10 fucking years. Like, sorry, can I cuss? I've been cussing a lot.
I don't know. I have
Okay.
I don't worry about that part. So.
Okay, sweet. Yeah. So I just like, I try to remind myself like how long I've been trying to get to this spot, and just try and be really grateful and really blessed and very like intentional every day. So I've recently been doing a lot of yoga and a lot of meditation, and I'm seeing a somatic therapist.
Yes.
Because I want to be really now intentional with my cannabis use. And I feel like in the past, I definitely used it as kind of like a band-aid, or more of like a way to like escape my reality, like to escape the suicidal thoughts, to escape the depression and anxiety. But now I want to use it as a way to get deeper, and as a way to heal from those things and
work through it.
Yeah, work through it. Exactly. So I feel like I'm taking on a different mindset with it too.
Beautiful. No, I just love that. I kind of feel like vibrationally, so many of us are in that space. Like,
Yeah.
whatever the like healing, the meditation, we all like, because it's crazy. Because we're at this feverish pitch of like, we're busy, we're crazy, we're doing all this stuff.
It's too much. It's too much to, I can't process anything. Like, I just have to sit at home and be like, what has even happened this past?
Weighted blanket. And,
Yes.
get your nervous system to just like calm down.
Yes. No, with my dog Bacon in my lap. Like, and I'm just like, yes.
We're going to be okay.
Yes. It's just like there's too much. I just don't think humans were supposed to like have this much information at like the touch of our fingertips. It's too overwhelming for our brains. Like, it's too much.
Well, it's actually something I struggle with because on the one hand, I love creating content. I love doing this. I love everything about creating almost anything.
Yeah.
I
love the execution. I'm just like, let's just do it and see what happens.
Right. And then on the other side of it, I always am like, I know that there's kind of universally too much in the universe.
Yeah.
There's so many podcasts. Does there really need to be one more?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm really caught between but I like creating.
Yeah.
And then, but am I just adding to the?
No, I think if you like feel called to do it and you actually stick with it, it's all about like just continuing to stick with it. Because like there are a lot of podcasts when you think about it, but only like 1% of podcasts make it past like episode 3 or something.
Right. It's hard.
Yes, like that's a real statistic. I just saw this. And so it's like you think there's a lot of podcasts, but like they're not actually going to make it.
Right.
So like we have like the means and like the will to like educate people. Like it's not just us like shooting the shit. Like if you're going to start a podcast to shoot the shit, like please don't. That's what I think is like more of what I'm getting from your energy. But like this podcast is not shooting the shit. Like we are trying to educate people. We're trying to destigmatize. We're trying to do so much.
Put good into the universe.
Yes. Send love to everyone, even our enemies. Like that is what we need.
Yeah. And combat some of this like bad narrative that's going around about cannabis. Absolutely.
Yes, because I think cannabis and mushrooms can heal all of us and can make all of us feel worthy and feel like we are loved and can be loved and can spread so much good to the world. And there's a reason for all of us to be here and we're all connected. And yes, that's what I feel like cannabis and mushrooms promotes. And so many people just don't know that. It's so sad.
It just gave me goosebumps. I want you to know. Like, I just like, oh, that was, yes. And on that note, we're going to have to end this episode. But like, thank you so much. I love your energy. This was wonderful.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely.